This is Matt with Sunrise Yacht Products. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to walk through the installation of one of our nets on the Lagoon 450. We've had hundreds of customers asking us to show how to do the install, so here you go.
Feel safe, comfortable, good resting spot. Prime. Super fun. Yeah. Life is good.
We have some original nets on here that are failing, and we're here to replace them. When you go to unpack your bag, the first thing you're going to want to find is our logo. And this is going to mark the top forward outboard corner for your starboard net. So this is the starboard net. We can throw it over there. And then this is the port, and we'll start getting set up. So one thing I'd like to show here is this is the 3/8 offshore netting. This is our most popular for this size of boat. Excellent durability and comfort. But the main thing is when you first stretch this out, when you go to install, notice it does not look like it's going to fit. It's going to be a fair bit smaller because there's some shrinkage as it sits in the package. But when we stretch it out, it will fit. Yeah, cool. Let's go. Sweet. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is cut loose the attachments in the corners on all four corners so that we can throw the net over and get our initial corner pull out. Then we'll come back through and we'll cut out the old net, pull it off, and start tightening up the new net. So let's get on with it. I found that these little simple serrated razor blades are super useful. $10 for a pack of 50 on Amazon. We're going to start by tying out one of the corners. We're going to end up doing all four. Details are really simple. You're going to start on your corner pad eye with a small bowline. So I'm going to zoom up on that. So when I say small, the key is you want to keep the knot pretty tight to the pad eye so that it doesn't bind up if you tension up the net tight to the corner. So from that point, you're just going to run the line 3 loops, going down through the grommet and up through the pad eye. So 3 times. Then in this case, you're not pulling tight, you're just getting it to approximate final position. Based on your drawing, you should be able to see where it's going to lay out, which in this case is going to be right about here. And then you're going to throw a temporary single half hitch, 2 if it starts to come loose, just to hold the position. Just like that. We're ready to move on to the next corners. At the drawing that we sent you, and it's going to show a lacing pattern example for your particular boat. In this case, the Lagoon 450, we're going to have a double lacing pattern. So you're going to want to follow that. Use that as your reference guide because it lets you line up the grommets where they belong. So in this case, this grommet is going to line up with this U-strap, and this grommet is going to line up with this U-strap, and so forth. So here, to get started, we just make a small bowline. Just like so. Now, one key thing about this is at your starts, you're going to want to do a double loop, and I'll demonstrate here. Basically, when you run your line through, you're going to come through, you're going to go down through the grommet, up through the U-strap. And because we're just getting started, we're not going to pull it tight, we're just going to establish the lacing pattern. So it's important here to make sure you come back through the U-strap. Now you're going to start your double lacing pattern. You're going to go down through the middle grommet between the two, up through the U-strap. And then for the next step, out of this U-strap, you're going to go down through the grommet that sits perpendicular to the U-strap and up through the U-strap. So this is what it's gonna look like. You've got a zigzag, then you've got a loop through, out perpendicular to the grommet, and back through it. Then we're going to continue that pattern. Okay, so one thing I want to point out here on this side, since we haven't tightened up or even attached the front lacing line, the net's sitting a little aft. So the grommets are going to look like they don't align. In this case, as you get near the end, make sure to follow the pattern, even though it doesn't naturally line up yet. This U-strap goes to this grommet, and we've been following that pattern down the whole line. So just make sure to continue that, because once we attach the front lacing line and tension it out, these will all swing forward and line up. So to finish, you continue the pattern, follow the details on your drawing. Each boat's going to be a little bit different, but one detail I like to do for the end is, instead of just coming to this pad eye, which is our termination point, and tying a knot here, it tends to be better to run a second loop. And this acts like a miniature pulley system. It lets you apply more tension. Plus, after you pull it, it locks it just a hair so that it's easier to tie your termination. Now in this case, you're just going to tie a single half hitch, because you're definitely going to have to come back on this side. And you're just establishing your lacing pattern here and moving on to the next side. On the forward edge, once again, go back to your drawing and take a look, because each pattern is a little bit different. But in this case, I know that this lacing slide is going to line up with this grommet. This lacing slide is going to line up with this grommet. Then we're going to transition into a double lacing pattern. So this lacing slide will line up with this grommet. So to start, it will look something like this. That's our start. Now we're just going to transition into a standard double lacing pattern. So at the end here, once again, all we're doing is throwing a single half hitch for a temporary hold, because we know we're going to come back and finish up that side. But that's round one on side one, and now we move on to the other sides.
What they're doing right now is spacing out.
Lining up the pad eyes with the correct.
All right, so at this point, the lacing patterns have been established on all four sides. All the corners are tied out. The net at this point is, you could get on it. It's not remotely tight. It's actually usable, but it's not what you want. So our next steps are detention. The most difficult side detention is typically the forward side, so I try to start with that because you've got to balance on the forward beam. You have the option of getting these specialty installation hooks from us. Yeah, I should. So you have the option of getting these with the lacing kit if you'd like, and they make installation much, much easier. The process for it is as simple as pulling up on your first, and you can just walk it down. So this is our first round of tensioning. We know that we're not going to get it all the way tight, just trying to get in the right ballpark. So we're not spending a lot of time on each piece. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, get that, how you're holding it.
Okay, so holding the one that's been tensioned, you grab the next one and just transition your tension forward. Then come back and pull with both. At some point, you might get so much line that you need to work the tension forward a little bit. And then just come back to where you were. So pull up on one, grab it there, grab it both and pull. All right, so one of the most important parts is after each round of tensioning is to walk all over your new trampoline. You can break it in. You can skip if you want.
Do a little jump.
Jump jack. Going nowhere. Asterisk, jumping is not advised on your trampoline, but now we have the net fully tensioned out. It's done in terms of the tensioning. So now we just finish up these lines. So we're going to throw something like 10 or 12 running half inches. And once you've got a good number like that, you're going to take the end of this line, either roll it up as is, or you can cut it a little bit shorter. You're going to want to leave at least 2 feet in case you need to retension down the road. So either cut that or take the whole thing and bundle it up. But we're going to repeat that on all the corners and then clean up the lines and we're done.
After you're done with your half pitches, take your tag in, start to coil it up nicely. Leave yourself a decent amount of slack. That's your line. Start to give it some wraps.
How many?
3 or 4. Give yourself enough line. Pull this tag in through like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull it through that way. Tie a little knot up here. Just keep it nice and organized, clean. It's not go away.
All right, so if you've got a lot more line than you need, you're going to want to cut it. Assuming you've got a Dyneema kit, this is a recommended way of cutting it. We like to take just a little bit of tape. We typically use masking tape. Think about how the ends of like your shoelaces are bound. You're going to bind it like that, nice and tight. That keeps the fibers pressed together when you cut the rope, because Dyneema has a tendency to expand because it actually boils a little and off gases when you cut it. That's why it's so hard to keep a clean end if you don't have it protected like this.
Okay.
All right, we have fully installed the trampolines on the 450. Offshore, it's a 5-year warranty. It should last for about 12 years. Everything's set up right. It's ready to go.